here. How about you?
Bro, life's good. Life's good. And I'll tell you what, the app is even better. What y'all did with that upgrade, like, I'm a loser. Okay, I have goosebumps. So anybody that's listening to this and not watching it, like, you can see my hair standing up and I actively have goosebumps on my arm because it really was. Like, the upgrade was awesome. The library. So shout out to y'all. I just want to give you guys some roses right now. I should be proud of that.
Yeah, we appreciate that. A lot of work went into it behind the scenes. People, besides me, put a lot into that, and I think they did an awesome job delivering something that is really useful, gives even more insights and accessibility to coaches and athletes. So yeah, man, we're pumped about it.
What does this remasterization of the app mean for Vitruve?
Yeah, I mean it's just kind of the start of some big things that we've got coming. It's kind of being able to build a foundation in Cornerstone. We got a lot of feedback from coaches on the old app of kind of some things they were missing, some features that they were looking for. So we wanted to add those in there. The biggest kind of thing was it coming to Android as well as a web-based platform. Obviously not everybody uses the same devices. So being able to have some flexibility there, and then the web-based platform is huge. Being able to input athletes, see data from your desktop is huge. Not having to interact with everything in the app was a huge piece of this.
So what is new in the app outside of the Android thing? What are the new features?
Yeah, that's obviously a big part. It's been adapted into 11 different languages, so I don't know
Holy
how
cow. Hold on, everybody listen. Say that again.
11 different languages. So yeah, I don't know if you got listeners that speak 11 different languages, but it's opened it up to a global community that we didn't have a reach to before. So that's a huge piece there.
That 11 I mean, that is huge because I have had people reach out to me that do live in other parts of the country. Like, that's
Yeah,
11 different. That's fantastic.
yeah, 15 new metrics in there. So we had some stuff that was available on the export, but not within the app itself. But now they're all available within the app, so you can see them in real time, get that feedback with those new metrics. Some ones that even weren't previously available, so some new insights there that are great for folks. And yeah, it's just setting the stage, like I said, for even further development as we move forward. So those are just kind of a few highlights there. Being able to manage athletes, exercises, all from that spot is a huge piece of it.
And like, for me personally, the ability to switch between people, like, so if anybody's listening, like, it's so nice to switch. Like, you're just right there, like, you and the other person click, this person's up, this is like, it's seamless, which is just, for me, was huge.
Yeah, that's always been a huge advantage, I think, of our app. They had designed it that way from early on, and that's one of the biggest feedback that we get is, yeah, it's just so easy for the athletes and users. It's intuitive. You don't have to spend time teaching athletes how to use it. I mean, most of the time the athletes are teaching the coach how to use the app anyways, no matter what app it is. But I think ours especially is super intuitive. It allows you to change which athlete performed the set after the fact. That's something that I know has been invaluable, and coaches are always asking me about. Is you get moving so fast and forget to change the weight or change the athlete that's up, and then after the fact, oh crap, that's in the wrong spot or doesn't have the right number. You can a couple touches in there, put it in the right spot, change the weight to make sure you're getting everything correctly in there. So yeah, it's been great.
What new things can we expect from everybody at Vitruve this year, and what can you tell us?
Yeah, so they've told me not to give too much away, but we do have a lot in the works for sure. Like I said, this is just kind of the initial building block, the cornerstone with which everything will be built upon. So having access to more data instantly, being able to interpret that data. So I know a lot of coaches, especially if you're starting out with VBT, it can be a little bit daunting. It's spitting out a lot of numbers. What do these numbers mean? Which numbers am I looking at? What am I focusing on? How do I generate reports with this that sport coaches can be in tune with? And that's all stuff that we're listening to and developing. So again, this is just still the data collection stage in the current app, but being able to interpret that data and even do things outside of VBT is something to keep an eye out for Vitruve coming down the line here.
I'll tell you what I loved about the app too, with like being able to figure out, okay, this is going to be the primary metric that gets shown, and then like of your like your four different things that you want to be setting of like, okay, do you want it to be peak velocity, average velocity? Like that was super awesome too, with because you said multiple variables, but now I can choose what variables I want to see, primary, secondary, tertiary, and like again, bravo.
Appreciate that. Yeah, that's like I said, it's just feedback that we've gotten from coaches. They want to be able to kind of paint the picture of what's going on. One number doesn't tell the whole story. So it's figuring out. I want to see the power outputs, but also the speed. I know the range of motion is a variable that goes into that, so that can kind of tell me, hey, why my speed's the same, but my power's down. What's going on there? You're kind of be able to paint the whole picture with having multiple metrics on there. So that's something that we see as really valuable as well.
So you just talked about the range of motion, and this is something that Cody and I talked about in our episode. So anybody that's listening to this, check down below for that conversation that Cody and I had about VBT and the masterclass that he had on that one. Same thing actually with Antonio Squalante. So both those episodes are down below. Both of them were Vitruve users, so you can hear it from the horse's mouth. But what Cody was talking about was how he loved the range of motion part of it, where dudes would be like, instead of fishing for range of motion, they're like, Cody's like, nah, bro, like that one 25 inches. Like you don't even have to worry about like, hey, did you get your depth? Because yes, you're still coaching it, but it's just like anything else. It's like he said, hey, did you get 100? Like, no, you didn't get 100. And anybody that's listening that didn't listen to Cody's episode, he was saying 100 instead of 1.0 meters per second. That's just what he did. Doesn't mean that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
But no longer is it, oh, can I no, can you go up? Well, did you hit the speeds? No. Hey, did you get your range of motion depth? Like that again is just another feature that I think is personally, I love it.
Yeah, and again, being able to paint that whole picture, that's because that's something that coaches worry about is, hey, if we're just chasing speed, am I going to lose technique? Am I going to lose range of motion by kids trying to cheat the system, do this or that? And again, because you have all those metrics right there for you, you're able to check that. Oh, whoa, your speed went really up on this one. Either great job or wait a minute, you went halfway down on that rep. That's why you're able to go so fast. So yeah, being able to have the multiple metrics there for you again paints the whole picture. And like you said, I mean, it's objective feedback. It's right there.
Well,
You did or you didn't. And we can go from that.
I'm going to tee up a couple other things. So getting to
Yeah.
your point about technique, that was something that I spoke with Carmen Bott about, where I feel like by the end of it, I had her ready to go back to VBT because she was using it. And I was explaining to her like the whole reason why she needed it. And she told me that there was people out there that not associated with Vitruve, but people out there saying like, oh, technique doesn't matter. It's just about the speed. And it's like, that couldn't be further from the truth, where it's like, no, clearly your technique still matters. And so that episode's linked down below as well. But Antonio and I talked about it in his episode where he's like, listen, Justin, and he helped me understand this better. He's like, Justin, you can get better technique with your younger athletes very simply because they'll see that the rep was performed faster and better when they used better technique.
Yeah.
Like that's what it is, folks. It's not just, oh, round your back, do a squat, good morning, let your knees come together, but you got the speed. No, that has never once been anything about how good VBT should be done.
Yeah. It's a teaching tool, but it is not meant to replace the coach. You still got to coach. You still got to watch them, and like you said, it is a great way to teach that. When you are moving most efficiently, doing things correctly, that's when you're producing the most speed, most power. You can reinforce, rather than just saying that with having no actual feedback or numbers to back you up. Hey, that was your best rep. That looked really good. Cool, pat him on the back. But hey, look, you produced the most power when you did that the right way. So that's going to translate to the field and make you a better athlete. And again, just having numbers to reinforce what you're saying, because not everybody has an exercise science degree or cares as much about that type of thing. But when you have numbers to back up what you're saying and reinforce those, it's a huge and powerful tool.
I want to double click there on when you talked about tools and helping you be a better coach. I want you to discuss the common barriers that have held coaches back in the past, and then now kind of the evolution of coaching tools for people that are listening to this, because we have listeners that are, aspiring, established, or directors. They're in high school, private, college, pro, tactical, all different settings. So if you could, again, just common barriers that have held people back in the past, and then the evolution of the tools.
Yeah. I mean, the most obvious barrier, I think everybody who's listening is probably yelling it all at the same time, is obviously the price, right? It's an underfunded, profession at times. We don't get the, in multiple ways, and there's a whole other discussion there, right? But fighting the AD to get the funds to purchase this, or different situations. It's not always an AD, but um, you know, that's kind of one of the reasons that Vitruve came about, and there's other players on the scene. I'm not going to pretend like other VBTs don't exist, but making this more accessible to coaches and athletes has been Vitruve's one of our goals from the very beginning. Started out there was just a few out there, and it was only in these high class universities and research facilities. That was kind of the initial barrier, but all these companies coming along are trying to get this into more weight rooms because it is such a powerful tool. So, we certainly, it still costs something, and there's always going to be that barrier, but we try to make it affordable. We work with coaches. We have different promotions, different ways you can use it depending on your setting. So if it's something that you're considering, we'd love to work with you about it. And then it's just kind of the methodology of it. I think when people hear VBT, and I'm sure every VBT podcast, there's kind of a misconception of it's only when we're doing speed or power training is the only time that we need to use VBT. And that's only a small part of our year or season or program. So we don't really have a necessity for it. Or, my kids are too young. They don't need that. Those are kind of the main things that you hear. But we've already kind of touched on it. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can implement it and things you can do with the data. It just drives intent and gives you feedback on what you're doing to make sure that you're loading athletes the right way. Your program is working, is efficacious in what you're going for, and driving intent with the athletes. So that's a huge piece of it.
Well, to your point too about not only just being in a dynamic effort phase, but like personally, I love it for max effort with your high level athletes that are close to their training max, where if you actually trust them, and instead of saying, hey, we're doing 90% for a heavy triple today, you can say, hey, I know you, Luke, you're a grinder. I know that technically, the research says 0.3 ish, you're going to fail on a squat, but I know you, and I know you're a 0.2. So I can push you a little bit harder on these days. It also accounts for the fact that we know, back to the research, that your 1RM can vary based on sleep, stress, hydration, how you're feeling. So it allows you to program heavier weight, your max effort, to quote Louis Simmons, rest in peace, better. And it can also help you with your repetition effort, because like with Rodrigo's webinar that we did, and I'll link that down below for everybody else as well. But what Rodrigo talked about with the repetition effort is now, instead of just like a certain number of reps in the set, if you're doing it based off velocity loss, well, now you don't have to stop yourself because you're like, well, I did the number of reps. It's like, actually, you were cheating yourself because you had more in the tank. And personally, this happened to me 2 weeks ago. I was doing a max effort day on squats, and my singles that I had worked up to, my third set of heavy singles were actually faster than the second, and the second was faster than the first. And I was like, son of a gun, I gotta put more, like, I can't be the guy that's not, like, if I'm doing it with my athletes, I have to hold myself to it. So I think that, again, to our listeners that may be young, our older listeners, I think they understand this because they've learned from Louis, but the younger ones that haven't learned from Louis Simmons, you can use this stuff to lift heavier. That's not always the thing. Like, it's not always saying, oh, we need to do less. No, it'll tell you and your athletes when they're needing to load themselves with more weight or do more reps.
Yeah. It's telling you what's going on no matter what you're trying to do with it. Like you said, heavy weight, dynamic effort. It's just going to give you data to back up what you're doing and allow you to auto regulate training, back up, kind of what you see with numbers, all the stuff we've been touching on there. So it's applicable at really all times of training. If you're using a barbell, you want max intent put into the bar, VBT is right there for you.
Well, and here's something else that I wanted to highlight that I prepared. This research here this is in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research through the NSCA. This is a 2019 article. So anybody that's listening, you're not looking at what I have in my hands. Anybody on the video, you can see this. But it's talking about the reliability and concurrent validity of 7 commercially available devices for the assessment of movement velocity during the bench press. And it looked at, Vitruve's unit versus, as it said, there's 7 different available. So that versus 6, and it came out as the best.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so again, not only is it more accessible, but against the competition, it was better. This article is linked down below, so anybody that wants to read it, like, none of this is hidden information.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, you're getting more. It's more accessible, because getting back to the price thing, like, listen, coaches, we like, if it was completely free, nobody would probably ever use it. So there has to be a barrier to entry. Like, there's a reason why we all have jobs and get paid to do what we do. So it's at a better price, and it's more reliable. Like, it's right there.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward to me. And yeah, I mean, there's other things available out there, and other ones that are, as good or close as well. But yeah, I mean, people try to, maybe knock it. It's cheap for a reason. There's something going on there. Well, if it's reliable and accurate, we provide coverage on the units, things like that. There's really no reason that you need to spend more money. Maybe if you're going to use it as a recruiting tool, or just be glad that you spent more money on something, but that doesn't mean that you're necessarily getting a better product or something that's doing a better job. If you can get it done in an accurate, reliable way with an affordable product, I don't know why you would go anywhere else.
I agree. And I was on the phone with a coach helping them prepare for their CSCS exam. And one of their colleagues, so we were on speakerphone together while they were looking at their computer, da 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 da. And I heard one of their colleagues be like, "Hey, can I get the phone number to the so-and-so rep, because one of the so-and-so units broke again?" And I was just like, "Hey, bro, I've been telling you." So that's an aside, a real life event that happened for me. But let's get back to our original conversation. Let's talk about the different key shifts in mindset, accessibility, and tech that are making VBT more practical. So we did talk about, the barrier to entry is now less expensive than it used to be. But given that, if more people have it, how do we make sure that they are getting and using that good data, rather than, hey, they're getting it, but they're really not, using it more practically?
Yeah. I think the other piece of more accessible, and again, I kind of mentioned it a little bit, but is the education that's available. This podcast, all the other podcasts that you mentioned, Vitruve's putting out content. All of our competitors are putting out content to make sense of the numbers and make it practical for coaches to use in their environment. Again, it was kind of in these unattainable, inaccessible places before, where, oh, that's just for this fancy Olympic training, or for the NFL guys. We that's not it's not accessible or needed, in the high school space or things like that. That doesn't apply to us. But the research shows otherwise. Obviously, practical knowledge shows otherwise. It's very applicable in those places. And then behind that, all the education of how to practically do that is now more widely available than ever. Coaches do a great job sharing that information. Again, the podcasts, the research articles,
The
the network
ebooks
that's
that you guys
available,
continue
ebooks.
to
I mean,
the
there's
ebooks that you
everything
guys
out there
continue to put
nowadays. Yeah,
out, like,
yeah,
so it's not. So again, anybody that's listening to this, it's like, yeah, go check out the endless free ebooks of, like, the ebook that we were giving away during me and Alejandro's excuse me, not Alejandro, me and Rodrigo's webinar, but it was how to use the VBT in season and out of season. Like,
yeah.
there's just so I had Missy Mitchell Macbeth. I know you're listening to this, Missy. She reached out to me like, "Hey, can I get that ebook again?" Yeah, sure. Sent you the link to download it, because and she's in middle school. She's training middle school and high school volleyball players, but she understands that you have athletes that are accumulating fatigue with high school training and club training with their parents. And if this is another way that we can give a better potent dose. So I'm going to again quote my conversation with Cody. If we can give a more potent stimulus and dose of medicine, because that's what we're doing with exercise. We say movement is medicine. We're giving a better, more stimulant potent to these athletes. That, like, why wouldn't you do it? Go find the ability to listen to it. Go read the ebook instead of just scrolling on your phone. Go listen to the podcast while you're driving, so that way you can learn how to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, it's all more accessible to you to learn how to do those things, and even for your specific setting. So yeah, it's just you holding you back from gaining that knowledge and understanding how it can fit into what you're already doing.
So with this remastered Vitruve app, how is this going to support the role in simplifying VBT adaptation for coaches that are like, all right, how can I do it then inside the app?
Yeah, again, it kind of just goes back to making it more accessible in the app in terms of the data collection at the end of the day. It's cleaned up. It's in a ability to export it out into an Excel or CSV, as
Yep.
well as access it from the web. So not having to do everything in the app is a huge piece of that.
Yep.
Integrating with other dashboards is something that we're setting up in the new app still. Just reworking that, with fighting through some things with other companies. But again, it's going to all be there for you that like it has in the past. So just making that data more digestible to the coach is a huge piece of why we even undertook this in the first place. So that's something that we're really focusing on with the new remasterization of it.
I'll tell you what I also love too is the difference in color on the concentric versus eccentric.
Mm-hmm.
So like you can clearly see it right there, because then now again, like it just helps you have better conversations with your athletes, because now you're saying, okay, hey, let's pick up how you're doing this eccentric phase, because you could be doing your dynamic effort, but what if you're in a dynamic effort phase where you're doing true dynamic reversal, down fast, up as fast as you can? Anybody that's a big Cal Dietz guy, he talks about the V and not the kind of wide. Well, now you can actually accurately measure that with your athletes.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, there's all kinds of insights in there and so many different ways of any type of training that you're doing. There's insights available for you to make sure that you're doing it correctly, monitor what you're doing, tell the story, see the picture, and kind of go from there. So yeah, I mean, there's tons of different insights you can gain from there.
And the other part about it too that I want everybody to like understand is I know that everybody, yourself included at the team, they're always like sending out emails trying to say, again, trying to inform you, the user, and saying, hey, like this is the new updates in the app. So when you are already a user, so our listeners that are already signed up, like make sure you're checking your emails regularly for this stuff, because they're sending you information on how to fix things, and there's videos associated with it, sending you the email address of who to contact if you need help with things. But anybody that's listening, like that also is how much information is being sent to you. And also in these emails, it's saying like, hey, reply to this email right here if you've got questions, if you've got things that you want to improve, because like I'm looking at this email right here, we're listening, we'd love to hear your feedback, we're applying what people say to make updates to our apps. Like your opinion literally matters and changes things.
Absolutely, especially with this new app. I kind of say it's still kind of made out of clay. We're still trying to mold it into exactly what coaches want. So with this new launch, obviously with anything new, it didn't come without bugs. So certainly there's some pieces where coaches had some frustration. It didn't do exactly what it used to, or there was a piece where they got hung up. This used to be here, now it's over there. They couldn't find it. So we're refining those things, and I think pretty quickly. It's only been out for a couple weeks now, so
Yep.
there's already been tons of change and fixes made to it, and we're still continuing to do that. So absolutely, if anyone ever has feedback, features that they want to see added, things they want to see changed, we're always collecting those things and really putting them into effect, where we see fit, or something that we can add down the line to keep our coaches running as most effectively as possible with it, for sure.
Yeah, same thing. And I had some people reach out to me like, hey, I know you're using the app. Did you? And I was able to be like, yeah, this is how I'm doing. They're like, oh, yeah, thanks. So again, reach out to me as well if you want to ask questions. And if I can't answer it, I'm going to direct you to the rest of the team there. But I had people reach out to me and be like, yeah, no, this is how I've used it in the new setting, or this is the exercise that I selected it for. Like, and I'm here as a resource too, as I've been to helping out other people with that.
Yeah, I know, like, not just with our app, but with any app, Twitter updates, and you're like, oh, I hate
Bro,
this new
anybody, they
update.
move,
What is
people
this? They
move
moved
your
this. Yeah.
grocery. If your grocery store changes the aisle setup, people get mad. Like, let's
Exactly.
call it what it is.
Yeah.
Like, when you go to Aldi and it's like, wait a minute, the bread section, they moved it, and like the crackers are next to the bread, and it's like everybody's kind of going crazy. It's like, listen,
Yeah.
it's just an update at the end of the
Exactly.
day. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's at
And
the end of the day, it's going to make things better.
yeah, and exactly. Most of the time, they did it for good reason. They've got something coming, or a reason behind what they have done. They're not just throwing stuff around or changing it for the sake of change. Maybe some of those out there, but yeah, I mean, like I said, as I kind of alluded to, there's a lot more coming, and things that I think a lot of people will enjoy and make their life easier. So just bear with us through the transition here, and I think it's all going to be worth it and provide a really cool product for our users.
Which just again continues to highlight like real-time customer service where you're going to get answers, you're going to get people to help you do things in real time, which is huge because when when you get a new software, you get to purchase and be with those people. The thing that I want to say within being those people, with respecting people's privacy, what has been a coach, an organization, look back, don't say names to respect the privacy of the people, but who has been adopting some of these things in the best way that you would say, okay, anybody that's listening, like, be like Coach X, do what Coach Y is doing. This is how they're really, really, getting the most out of their systems.
Yeah, I mean, again, not mention anybody, but you've mentioned a few of kind of our superstar users that have certainly come across in the high school space. There, people you've had on your show and done webinars with, because they've really done a great job of kind of using it to in a practical way that makes sense, kind of gets the most out of it without getting so caught up in the numbers or making a really time consuming job for the coaches. We don't want it to make your job harder. If done correctly, this should absolutely make your job easier of auto regulating athletes, driving intent, creating a safer environment for your athletes to train in. So I think anybody that's doing that, without getting too, like you said, specific and kind of calling anybody out, but people do a great job in all types of settings with it. It's definitely at the higher levels, but also some of our most active users are in those high school, middle school spaces. They train so many athletes and they're using it for so many different exercises and outputs that it's really cool to see kind of everything they're coming up with, pushing the edges of what they can kind of do with it and what insights they can gain from the data that it's spitting out.
I mean, I will, because that way you don't have to, but I can highlight people that I know have done a good job. Like even with Cody, what Cody was doing with his charging station, where like they can just charge it right there, or another coach in the high school setting, down at Regina High School here in Iowa City. Like they have just like at the end of the day, it's part of they go and put it in, they have a nice little docking station set up. And then like even little things like that, where you can just make it standard operating procedures and you teach the athletes how to utilize it. And it just, you get the athletes to like, they lock into it. And that's what's been some of the most exciting for me when utilizing it as well. Like hearing the athletes, like trying to jump higher, trying like, oh, come on, bro. Why are you BSing? Like, that's what it's about.
Absolutely. That's a huge piece. And I think kind of mentioning some unique things there. I think leveraging the magnets of the unit is a huge piece. And I always try to tell that to people as well. Charging station wise, I know some folks will, magnet them all to like just a thin sheet of metal and be able to take that wherever. And also I tell anybody who will listen any chance that I get that a super great way to use it if you have full racks is to magnet it to the top bar of the rack and have the cable come down to the bar. You can invert the settings on the encoder. It's off the floor. You're not having to take it on and off when you change weights. You don't have to worry about kids kicking it, anything like that. That is a huge thing that I think is widely underutilized. And anytime I use it, that's how I'm using it, is having it come down to the bar like that. So great to use the platform to get that one out there as well.
I agree. And that's why, like, the reason I'm kind of, nerding out and diving down this is just to explain all the true logistical concerns or whatever the words are for people. So that way it's like, oh no, like I truly understand how to use this day one. Like even something as simple as like, I'm telling y'all, you open the app, you hit the Bluetooth button and you make sure that your encoder's on and it connects like that quickly. It is that user friendly.
Yeah, it's ready to go out of the box. People are like, "Are you sure? I don't need to do anything else. What else do I need to download?" Or it says it's connected, but what else do I need? No, you just pull the string and you're rolling, man.
Correct. Put the string on the bar. And like you mentioned the box, and shout out to Apple because they started it, but like boxes being like that box was nice. Like it was, I didn't want to throw it away.
Yeah.
Now
nice,
that's just
sleek
me.
packaging.
Like but that's like, I was like, wow, this box is nice. And like, yeah, so that's my 2 cents on that.
For sure. Yeah, got that sleek kind of minimalistic design in there, but it has everything that you need and it's ready to roll out of the box, like you said. So that's a huge piece of it.
And I mean, anybody that's listening that is not familiar with it, you can get the velocities right there on the encoder too. So it's not just on the app, but it's right like so you can get it multiple ways.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, kind of there's different options for different coaches, but there's really, kind of no excuse as to why you couldn't use it. Yeah,
Correct.
it can be used without Wi-Fi. It can be used without the app, so without, a tablet, anything. I mean, you could pull it out in the middle of the football field and start doing something with it if you wanted to, and get all the speeds that you need right there. So, yeah, it can really be used in any setting for sure.
Well, to your point there, like understanding coaches, like yeah, I've done loaded jumps with this stuff. So whether it's on a box or horizontal jumping and holding dumbbells or whatever to be able to track how much weight is appropriate for this athlete, because instead of always jacking the box up, if you can just keep the box height consistent and you increase the load that they're jumping with, right? Hey, start to correlate what are their speeds look like on a box jump versus an Olympic lift. So that way, you're loading them with the proper weight. But then also, as I did at NSCA coaches conference, you can put it around someone. If you attach something to their upper body that it can clip to, now you can do a plyometric push-up with it. And now you're getting speeds on that as well. So yes, you can, like, your imagination is going to be your limiting factor in this.
100%. Yeah, and the app is set up for that too. You can add exercises, customize those, name them anything you want, add 1RM estimations equations to them by going through, a testing protocol. So it's kind of fully customizable in there. Again, what you can change which metrics show up for that. So, yeah, we really want you to be able to do whatever you want with it. We have some really cool different users. We have people who rock climb with it. So people who are like
Really?
bouldering. That's one of our cool use cases. Is they'll like attach it onto their waist and kind of do some different, quick climbs and see how fast they can go from here to here, and
Dude,
some different cool outputs with like rock climbing. So that's a really cool use case that again I thought was super creative, but super cool.
that is unbelievable to think about, like doing it. Oh my gosh. Like, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like rock climbing. Wow.
Yeah, that was one that kind of blew me away. I was like impressed that they thought of that, and they do some really cool stuff, and it's a really high level rock climbing gym, and I mean, yeah, it makes sense to me now, now that you think
No,
about it.
it
But I
does.
mean, that's Olympic. Like it's like in the Olympics. I'm pretty sure there's at least
Yep.
high level competitions. So, I mean, absolutely.
Well, to your point with that, what we used to do when we were doing strongman training at Iowa was some days like we would do different events of like, okay, if it's a farmer's carry, if it's a sled pull, like the different things, but we would follow again that repetition effort, dynamic effort, or true like maximal effort with it. So
Mhm.
that makes sense too. Like, hey, if you're rock climbing, like, all right, let's make it, resistor. You could make the things stick out more or less. How fast can you like it? That's that's again another good use case.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I appreciate you. It's been the end of your day. It's the closing up on the 5 o'clock hour on the East Coast. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing this app updates. Anybody that was listening to this far, I appreciate you. Like I said, link down below. We got Cody's episode, Antonio's, Carmen's debate, me and Rodrigo's webinar, the article talking about the validity and the concurrent um, devices for those 7 different, including the Vitruve units. Also, the link to being able to reach out to the team at Vitruve is there. So, Luke, I appreciate you, brother.
Justin, absolutely, man. Thanks for the opportunity. Like I said, we're really excited about where things are heading. If anybody has questions, feedback, anything that we can help with, please reach out.
You guys will be at the CSCCa, correct?
Absolutely. Yep, I'll be there myself.
All right. Okay, actually, yeah, let me look at this floor map. So you guys are going to be next to DC blocks. Shout out to you, Derek.
There you go.
I got a bunch of DC blocks myself, so it's awesome to see you guys next to each
Heck yeah.
other. I will be there as well, near the Powerlift booth. So if anybody has questions about Vitruve, you can ask me. You can ask Luke because he'll be at the CSCCa. So not sure when you're listening to this, but the CSCCa event will be going on May 5th through 7th. That's all
I
right.
believe so. That sounds right to me.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this before the CSCCa, make sure you check out Luke, check out me. And if you got any questions about it, man, we're happy to help.
Yeah, please stop by.
Thanks, man. You have a great rest of your night.
You do the same. Thanks. Bye.